I'm UGShinobi, and today we're doing Monster Hunter Ranch, my favorite weapons, strongest weapons. This is the Charge Blade, heavy damage dealer. It's basically a sword and shield when you start off. You build up a charge, and once you build up a good enough charge, you can store it and then unleash the actual axe right after. So right there, you just saw me store it, and then you just switch over to the axe. I'm actually playing. This is a brand new character I started up just to see how much damage it actually deals out, and it happens to deal out a huge amount of damage. There are bigger weapons that do a lot of damage, but they are very slow compared to the the charged axe. And because of that, this is why I picked this weapon as one of the strongest, because it gives you a lot of mobility. It gives you a chance to defend yourself, as in block, without any kind of kickbacks. And then once you actually morph it into the actual axe, it does twice as much damage. And literally, like on my other character, which is the one I've been playing with not too long, and it's not. He's actually not a very high hunter level. The same monster I ran through with like less than like 20 minutes. Well, you could kill him in less than 20 minutes anyway, but he runs away. But I mean like somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, I kind of ran through him. And when you're lower level, it takes a lot more hits, but it does a prime amount of damage to the point where it's actually murdering the monster real fast. But because there's a lot of cutscenes and because they run from you, it'll take a while, but you are doing a lot of damage. When I first started playing, I thought I'm not really doing anything to him, but you're really doing a lot of damage to him. Now we got the switched axe, which is a very heavy damage dealer. The only thing that I've seen is that it's very hard to get a full combo out without getting hit. If you can possibly get the full combo out, you'll probably be able to do twice as much damage, but it's not very easy. And this is actually my character that I was talking about. I started off with this as my first character. Um, he's a higher level hunter than the last character. He's somewhat strong, but I mean, for the level that he is right now, like he can do a good amount of damage. So with the switch axe, you start off with an axe. You charge up your damage from each hit, and and then you're able to switch over into the sword form, which is really strong. Just to be honest, this is when you switch to the sword form. It starts doing like way more damage, maybe like 20 to 30 damage more, depending on the level of your character. But even at a low level, it's still doing at least like 20 to 30 damage per hit. There's a lot of weapons in this game, and to be honest, like most of them don't do a lot of damage. They do damage over time, but very little. The other thing that I like about this sword slash axe is that it has a huge range, whereas other weapons do not have any range like that. Like they're big, they're strong, but they have no range. Yeah, like I said originally earlier, it's very hard to get the combo out every time you uh, do it, because your character's weapon is doing so much damage. It tends to just piss the monster off more, and they end up targeting you right away. So you never really get through the whole combo. You just get knocked around a lot. Not saying you can't, but just saying like it's a little bit hard to get the whole thing out when you want to. All right, let's see. Now he's gonna run away. One of my favorites is dual blades. In demon mode, you tend to do a massive amount of damage. You first have to build it up in the blade first, and then once your blade turns red, then you're able to we're able to enter demon mode, and does slash it does slash critical plus extra damage. So it turns out to be really, really, really strong after a while. And you'll see this right now. So technically, the blade is doing very little damage, but because it's hitting every single area of the monster, it does twice as much damage in most weapons. And once you actually get into demon mode, your stamina starts to drain out a little bit faster, but you do twice as much damage and more crit. So makes you twice as critical. So even though it looks like I might not be hurting him, I'm really doing a lot of damage. And he also tends to break more parts of the monster that way. And anybody who's been playing this game, I really hate this stupid monster roar. It's really annoying. You go to attack them and they roar at you, and it's just really annoying. But anyway, this is just a quick show of damage on two monsters. You're actually doing a pretty good amount of damage while fighting. It's wearing the monster out to the point where it's just really just standing there. And the other thing I will say about this weapon is that it's extremely fast, but it lacks a lot of defense. The reason why I say that is because a lot of the time the monster will not notice you're there for a little bit of time unless it actually sees you. So in this case, it just not saw me like literally a couple seconds ago. So if you can get under the radar and not let them see you, it's the best thing to do. But if they do see you, you need to make sure that you prep yourself for a lot of damage because it literally gives you almost no defense. So once they hit you, that's it. And it also has a high chance to stun the monster as well too. And say there you go, no defense. I just lost a lot of health for the one hit. And here we have the Great Sword, one of the biggest swords in the game. Does a lot of damage at a low rate. Like the first weapon does like over 500 damage almost. So it's pretty strong. Breaks monsters' appendages very easily if you actually do swing. It does somewhere between 20-30 damage each hit most of the time, depending on where you hit. If you hit a soft spot, it might do way more than that, which is basically what they tell you in the beginning of the game, that whichever part you hit, depending on where it is depending on whether it's going to do a lot of damage or not. So for most monsters, it's underneath the neck and underneath the body. And I just got freaking paralyzed here, but that happens. Everybody got paralyzed at the same time. So the reason why I put this sword a little bit further down in the actual ranks uh, of this actual video is because even though it has good defense, it does good damage. It's the slowest, one of the slowest weapons in the game, and I mean that. It's very, very, very slow, and even though it does damage. So this is the long sword. This is their version of the katana in the game. It's a very, very strong weapon. Gives you very, very good mobility, and it makes it easier for you to break off monster parts very easily as well too. Just like every weapon, you can tend to get your behind kicked while you're while you're fighting any monster. They tend to just like smack you around anyway. So if you're looking for a weapon that you won't get smacked around a lot, you can start off with the first weapon, which is sword and a shield, which morphs into an axe. Only reason I say that is because it's very hard for them to smack you around like that, and your defense is stronger with a shield. But this sword, if you want to do a lot of damage and break things, like his tail just broke off, it's very easily done. The weapon itself is very sharp, and the special attack makes your attacks twice as strong. So basically, the special attack is just a series of strong strikes at a fast, high pace. And there I was showing you, it's very easy for you to get knocked out fighting these monsters. You know, it all depends about your armor and what you decide to use. And which monster you're chasing, because it depends on if you have the actual defense not to get murdered while trying to fight these monsters. If they spit fire and they use poison, you need to be defended against it. Otherwise, you're gonna go down really fast. It's kind of why it took me a little bit of time for them to take me out. Yeah, this is the bow. This is a very high damage dealer from long range. The only thing I will say is that it does very low damage. It just hits several different times in a row. So if you fire at like a weak spot, it'll do a little bit of damage, but at the same time, it's still hitting more than once. And that's what I kind of noticed from a lot of the range weapons. They don't do a lot of damage, but they hit a lot. So you see, like right there, I just got 10 damage for shooting in the face. Between 10 to 13 damage shooting in the face, but it's very little damage. So they hit it like 4 or 5 times, but it's very little damage. And then, of course, it's because it's a ranged weapon, you're gonna get hit really hard when they actually do hit you because it leaves you wide open as far as defense. But see there, like, you kind of get tired again when I was shooting him. So they start to die a little bit by little bit, and then they run away, like always. But the thing about this weapon is that it goes from a couple of hits to its strong charge, which is what I'm doing right now. It's a special attack, which does pretty good damage, depending on where you hit him. Like you hit him pretty good in the face, hit him pretty good in the leg, you knock him down. So you can see how much damage it's really doing. It's not really doing a lot of damage on certain areas, but when you catch it under the belly, under the neck, you can shoot it in the tail. It does pretty good damage. It really does a huge toll on your stamina too. The light bow gun. This is basically a bow that does pretty good damage from light distance. So if you have a close range weapon that you wanna do significant damage at a fast pace, the bow gun is the best part, best weapon actually. It has the same special attack. One of the same bullet special attacks as the heavy bow gun, which is Wyvern bullets, which is pretty good. It does a lot of damage, but I will say this gun it's faster, but at the same time, like it makes you a huge target because you're shooting from far away, and monsters usually tend to notice that you're hitting them from far away and come after you right away. If there's more than one person using this gun or using a heavy bow gun and a bow and arrow, then it's a little bit different because it's gonna change aggro every time that somebody hits it, and you guys can probably get away with it. So I'm using a gun, although I'm not gonna use any super or special powers for this gun. Only reason is because not only does the monster run away, but it wasn't really any time to use it. So with this one, it's a pretty strong special attack. But in my opinion, it doesn't do very much damage. So that's why I kind of put it towards the back. When you tend to get over level 10 and get further around into the game and level your hunter a lot more, these weapons will do twice as much damage on monsters. But for now, it's really not doing much of anything to most monsters. And there are also stronger versions as you uh, level up in the game that you can craft and make better weapons and mod them in different ways. So I'm 100% sure it's going to get better, but right now it's just like 1 damage, 2 damage, 5 damage, depending on where you shoot it. And then, like, there you go, like, what's one of the specials, like, I'm firing the, well, it's not actually a special, it's just different bullets, to be honest. But I'm just changing different bullets to just show which bullet does. Like a spread bullets, shotgun starts to hurt it a little more, it does more damage over time. There's like 4 or 5 shots, does like 4 or 6 damage. So all in all, it does its job. It's just not as much as I would want it to. To be honest, I wanted to actually murder the monster, take it down really fast, but I'm not seeing that happening with this gun. It does good damage, but it's not gonna kill it right away. So you're gonna see there's like 3 of us right now fighting it. Actually 4 of us, and it's still giving us a really hard time. Now that you're using the special right now. There's like explosive flares that anybody can use pretty much. And you fire into them, they explode. Well, that does a little bit more damage than normal, and actually does a lot more damage on the actual monster. Which I can say is really good, but still wasn't very impressed with this weapon. I'm sure there's a lot of people that play shooting games that are just gonna go straight for these weapons, but honestly, in this type of game, you need to be able to survive. And in order to survive, you need to use the best weapon for you. And I kind of planned out some of those weapons that are really good. But all in all, this is still my choices on what I feel is good and what I feel is bad. Well, not necessarily bad. They're just not as strong as the other weapons. And there are more weapons in the game. I didn't do all of them because it would probably take me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I'm just giving kind of a taste of what weapons they have and which ones are strong and which ones are weak, but do a lot more damage over time. And then the super charges over time. There you go. So special attack is pretty good. Like you're shooting through the actual flare that you put down on the ground, and it doubles and triples your damage. You can also shoot the flares into the actual monster too. So now the hammer is very strong, and it has way more mobility than the actual heavy sword. And it also gives you a little bit of defense as you use it as well too. But it also makes you very a very very big target. You see, like just a couple minutes ago, well not a minute ago, a couple seconds ago, uh, you saw how much aggro I just had, like all of it. So it's kind of like, it's only if you really wanna be a damage dealer and you wanna take all the aggro, basically a huge tank. Also, one more thing that you guys got to keep in mind when you are playing this game: make sure that you keep your weapons sharp. Usually goes from green to yellow to red. Once it hits yellow, it's very hard for you to damage any monster. Their skin will reflect it, basically. And see, this jerk is running after me again after I even try to get away from him. So there is one of the other weapons that are in the game. Like there is a guy that's on my team right now that's using the gun lance or the sword lance. Well, no, I'm sorry. It's actually the gun lance. It's basically the gun and a shield, uh, in a short in sword form. So he is using it. I'm not saying it's a bad weapon. I just personally don't use it because it's literally like it just doesn't serve any purpose, to be honest. Just so everybody knows, since I haven't said it already, this monster, the T Rex and the first wyvern that you come to are honestly the most annoying freaking monsters in this game so far. They are annoying to kill. They don't die easily. They run you over. They literally try to rip you to pieces. And they're very hard to kill. Yeah, see, look, I'm on fire again. Freaking annoying monster. This is the heavy bow gun. It is a high-powered rifle, basically, in bow gun, which can be close range or far. It fires very slowly, but does lots of damage. That's the actual description the game gives it. But to be honest, the light bow gun does more damage faster. So, I mean, you can't really say that because I'm using normal ammo right now, and it's only doing one damage in one shot. With the light bow gun, I was using normal bullets, and it was doing like 5 or 4 hits, doing 5 damage on the same monster. So it just all depends. And this is actually like the base model, like the first weapon you get. It's not an upgraded version. The other one is actually a upgraded version. It's probably why I was doing less. This one's doing less damage. But with this gun, you actually have to brace for damage and try to make sure that you're out of the way before you do anything. Like standing there and firing at monsters when they have their attention. It's not really a good idea. Because then it's going to beat you. The insect Greevil. It's a very strong weapon. This weapon, I would say, is preferred for those that want to mount the monster without having to jump off a cliff. It gives you a basic aerial superiority with a good amount of damage. It is a heavy damage dealer over time, and if you use it right, you will be able to do a lot more damage than normal to many monsters. I haven't used it very much, this is why I put it at the back. But don't get confused with that. It is a very strong weapon. It's not the strongest, but in this list, it is a very strong weapon. As you'll see here, it's doing 15 to 20 to 30 damage with each hit. And there, I easily mounted the monster without any problems. Um, and just easily take them down as well too, which is kind of awesome if you think about it. Like, makes it easier for you to kill the monster while you get it stunned every time. Now, this weapon you can mark it with the front of your weapon. You can fire a shot that marks the monster for your insect to attack it. Once you attack your insect and destroy the actual mark, you do explosive damage. For this weapon, it's paralysis. So yeah, like I said, you do a good amount of damage with this weapon. It's very strong, very fast, very nimble, and you can easily mount the monster without any issues. So I would recommend that if you're a first-time player, I recommend using this or the shield and sword, which morphs into an axe. Uh, if you're somebody that does shooting games, you can go for the shooting weapons, but to be honest, I feel like they don't do much damage at all. And then most likely, if you do a solo mission, will get you killed. And see, now I'm using the same weapon and I'm mounted the monster again. And this time it has gotten knocked down, the same as before. I'm doing a good amount of damage to it. Not many times that you'll actually get hit or knocked around with this weapon because you'll be too busy in the air away from the monster. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like it, give me a quick like and subscribe. And you can also catch me on Xbox playing the same game.